What if the turbulence in your thoughts could melt into a sense of calm, allowing you to navigate life with renewed clarity and purpose? Picture the moments when your mind races at night, replaying the same worries and doubts. Then imagine discovering a pathway where centuries of wisdom converge to guide you toward genuine inner peace. In many ancient teachings, especially within Buddhism, there lies a constellation of insights that can illuminate our modern struggles. They address how to live fully, how to understand our inner workings, and how to let go of the burdens that keep us from peace. Today, we'll journey through 9 life-changing principles drawn from these teachings, weaving them into practical steps so you can start experiencing shifts right now. And if you feel this resonates, consider sharing your impressions or personal experiences by the end, because every perspective enriches the conversation. It's fascinating how a few simple truths, like recognizing the fluid nature of our identity or the inevitability of change, can set off a cascade of positive shifts in our lives. Consider, for example, the feeling of a constant internal battle, conflicting desires, unrelenting stress, and that gnawing sense of restlessness. We often cling to an image of ourselves, convinced there's an unchanging core that defines who we are. In Buddhism, there's a fundamental insight that the self isn't a static entity. Instead, it's more like a river that's constantly flowing, shaped by each bend and rock it encounters. This challenges the idea that there is a permanent me with a fixed identity and finite possibilities. Instead, everything about us, our preferences, our emotions, even our worldview, evolves with every new experience. At first, this can feel unsettling. Yet, when we accept that identity is flexible, we open the door to growth. If you see yourself as a river, you realize that each passing moment changes you in small but meaningful ways. You're no longer locked into rigid definitions of who you are. Imagine those times you believed, "I'm just not confident enough," or "I can't ever change my habits." In truth, you've already changed countless times since childhood. Why should that stop now? When you embrace this fluid sense of self, you allow for reinvention, for self-compassion, and for a deeper understanding that feeling stuck doesn't have to be permanent. Coupled with the view of a transient self is the profound teaching on impermanence. We often hear it in everyday expressions. Nothing lasts forever. This too shall pass. Embracing impermanence becomes a source of liberation rather than despair. Reflect on relationships or situations you once thought would never shift. Maybe a difficult phase in your career or an emotional wound that felt too raw to ever heal. Now think about where you are today. Even heartbreak fades, and new joys emerge to fill its place. By understanding the ebb and flow of life, you release the tight grip of expectation and the fear that any passing moment must define you for good. A simple exercise can bring this insight to life. Write down 3 things you frequently find yourself clinging to. Maybe a plan for success that isn't unfolding as you want it, or a hope that a certain relationship will never change. Next, spend a few quiet minutes imagining each scenario evolving over time. Visualize all the tiny transformations that could occur. This practice can be surprisingly calming. You begin to realize that an unwanted event happening today doesn't doom you tomorrow. When you stop clutching at illusions of permanence, you free yourself to adapt and respond more gracefully to life's transitions. Another vital principle is mindfulness, often described as paying attention, on purpose, to the present moment without judgment. This sounds simple, but in our fast-paced world, it can be surprisingly challenging. Many of us live on autopilot, reacting to everything around us without ever pausing to observe what's really unfolding inside. When we cultivate mindfulness, we create a small buffer between our thoughts and our reactions to them. Picture thoughts as clouds drifting across the sky of your awareness. You don't have to chase each cloud or dread the stormy ones. You watch them come and go. Research in psychology supports the benefits of mindfulness, showing it can reduce anxiety, improve concentration, and even boost immune function. But scientific findings aside, it's often personal experiences that underscore Why mindfulness matters. Have you noticed how your best ideas might pop up when you're relaxed, like in the shower or on a peaceful walk? In those moments, you're not busily judging your thoughts or forcing solutions. You're simply open and aware. Mindfulness practices aim to cultivate that space more deliberately. One approach is to spend a few minutes each day focusing on your breath. As you inhale, notice the sensations in your body. Maybe a gentle expansion of your chest, the flow of air through your nostrils. As you exhale, feel your muscles soften and release tension. If your mind drifts to worries or tasks, gently bring it back to the present. Over time, you train yourself to step out of the mental chatter and observe more calmly. Closely tied to mindfulness is the practice of observing thoughts as they arise. While mindfulness often emphasizes non-judgmental attention to the present moment, observational practice zeroes in on witnessing the mind's content, as if you're watching a play unfold. This can reveal surprising patterns. Maybe the same few doubts keep returning, or certain anxieties spike during particular times of day. By observing these repetitive thought loops, you learn to step away from identifying with them. Instead of saying, "I am anxious," you note, "Anxious thoughts are visiting me." That shift in perspective is powerful. It allows you to meet your own mental storms with curiosity rather than dread. Imagine each thought as a little visitor knocking at the door of your mind. You can greet it politely, let it speak, and then show it the exit without attachment. The key is to avoid slamming the door in panic or inviting it to overstay its welcome. This balanced response emerges from consistent mindfulness and observation. Try it. The next time you notice a stressful thought, such as worrying about work or feeling unworthy, label it. Say to yourself, "Here is worry," or "Here is doubt." Breathe deeply, observe how it feels in your body, and then let it pass. You'll find you're no longer held hostage by these thoughts. As you deepen these observations, you might realize how rare silence can be in our daily lives. Many equate silence with emptiness or boredom, but from a contemplative standpoint, silence is fertile ground for insight. Think of it like a calm pond that reflects whatever stands above it. If the pond is agitated, the reflection is distorted. In a moment of true quiet, you see yourself, your mental landscape, emotional states, and subtle insights reflected with greater clarity. It's not about chasing an empty mind, but rather giving yourself permission to step away from the noise and experience the fullness of stillness. This might be as simple as taking a brief silence break during your day. Turn off notifications, find a quiet corner, and just exist. Let your surroundings fall into the background as you reconnect with your breath, the sensation of your heartbeat, and the present moment. Even 5 minutes can feel like a reset. If there's a local park or a serene space you can frequent, treat that place as your personal sanctuary. Remember, silence doesn't have to be a lonely void. It can be the canvas on which you rediscover aspects of yourself that daily chaos often drowns out. In these moments of silence and mindful observation, a remarkable path emerges, the path of detachment. Detachment sometimes gets misunderstood as cold indifference, yet it's really about liberating yourself from the chains of clinging. If you're attached to the idea that success, affection, or material objects will solve all your problems, you'll likely feel anxious whenever these are threatened. True detachment doesn't mean you stop loving or caring. Rather, you approach relationships and life goals with an open hand. You give your best effort without pinning your self-worth on the outcome. A useful metaphor is a balloon filled with the weight of your expectations, resentments, and fears. Imagine holding that balloon and feeling its tension. Now visualize releasing it into the sky. When you let go, it rises and drifts away, leaving you lighter. This isn't about being emotionless or refusing to invest in your aspirations. It's about recognizing that the natural ebb and flow of life can't be controlled by sheer will. In Buddhism, there's a story of a monk who once lived with minimal possessions. No lavish comforts, barely enough to call his own. Yet he radiated joy because he understood that the more he tried to own things, the more they owned him. He was free precisely because he wasn't enslaved by an endless hunger for more. Detachment also connects with compassion, both for yourself and others. When you stop clinging to rigid expectations, you allow people the space to be who they are. You become more patient, less reactive. This builds a sense of empathy and understanding that fosters deeper bonds. The same principle applies internally. When you detach from the harsh self-critic, you become kinder to yourself, acknowledging your efforts without beating yourself up over every perceived shortcoming. This is a gentle but powerful form of liberation, one that opens your life to more joy and serenity. All these insights, the fluidity of self, the reality of impermanence, the practices of mindfulness, observation, silence, and detachment, are transformative in their own right. But they flourish best when you integrate them into daily life. Consider dedicating a specific time each morning or evening to a short meditative practice. Start with just 5 minutes of mindful breathing. If you enjoy writing, try journaling right afterward. Reflect on any attachments you noticed throughout the day and how they made you feel. Did holding on to a certain expectation cause tension or disappointment? Write it down. This process not only clarifies your thoughts, but also reinforces your commitment to growth. Another idea is to form or join a community. Whether online or in person, connecting with others who are exploring these teachings can offer fresh perspectives and mutual support. Share what you've learned, ask questions, and perhaps meditate together. Humans are social by nature, and spiritual insights often deepen when they're discussed and practiced collectively. If such a group isn't readily available, consider inviting a friend or two for regular mindfulness sessions. Having an accountability partner can motivate you to stay consistent and engaged. Setting a daily intention can also be surprisingly effective. Upon waking, choose a single concept to focus on, like staying mindful of impermanence throughout the day or observing your thoughts without judgment. Write it on a sticky note or set an alarm on your phone as a gentle reminder. In the evening, revisit how you felt, what worked, and what obstacles arose. Over time, these small routines accumulate into a significant shift in perspective, gradually rewiring your reactions to everyday stressors. Before long, you'll notice changes in how you handle conflict or disappointment. Perhaps someone cuts you off in traffic, and instead of cursing them, you find yourself breathing through the surge of irritation. Maybe you usually spiral into negativity when a certain coworker criticizes your work. But now you pause, note the annoyance, and respond calmly. Each time you break an old pattern of reactivity, you reinforce a new, healthier way of engaging with the world. It's a gradual process, but with patience, you'll see the fruits of mindful living. Let's also include two often overlooked but deeply enriching Buddhist insights that complement these practices. The first is compassion, or more specifically, loving kindness, often referred to in Buddhist teachings as metta. It's the practice of wishing well for yourself and others. In practical terms, it can be as simple as mentally saying, "May I be happy, may I be peaceful, may I be free from suffering," and then extending those wishes to loved ones, acquaintances, and even those you struggle with. This intentional cultivation of positive regard can soften the heart, reduce anger, and forge a profound sense of interconnection. When you combine compassion with detachment, you strike a balance between caring deeply and letting go of control, which fosters healthier, more empathetic relationships. Another key insight is the importance of right intention. Rooted in the broader Eightfold Path, right intention calls us to act from a place of kindness, non-harm, and genuine goodwill. The energy behind your actions matters deeply. If you move through life guided by fear or greed, you're more likely to be trapped by suffering. But when your intentions are grounded in a desire to learn, to grow, and to help, your path becomes smoother, your relationships more harmonious, and your sense of fulfillment more enduring. The simple act of pausing before a decision to ask, "What is my true intention here?" can reveal whether you're acting from love or from compulsion. Over time, this self-awareness aligns you more closely with a life of integrity and peace. By now, you've encountered a tapestry of transformative principles, seeing yourself as ever-evolving, respecting impermanence, honing mindfulness, observing thoughts without entanglement, cherishing silence, practicing detachment, cultivating compassion, infusing each act with right intention, and infusing your day with practical rituals. Each thread, when woven consistently, forms a powerful fabric of inner peace and clarity. Take a moment to reflect on which of these resonates most immediately with you. Do you feel drawn to exploring your sense of self more deeply, noticing how you've changed and grown over time? Or maybe impermanence stands out as an illuminating lens through which to view your changing world, helping you let go of worries about the future. For some, mindfulness is the key to calming an overactive mind, while others might find liberation through the gentle release of attachments. Perhaps compassion strikes you as the missing piece, reminding you to soften your approach toward yourself and those around you. Whichever insight calls to you, remember that genuine transformation often begins with small, consistent steps. If you're comfortable sharing, it can be incredibly powerful to put your experiences or intentions into words for others to read. When one person mentions their journey, like finding that 5 minutes of silence in the morning helped them curb anxious thoughts, it can spark someone else's curiosity to try the same. Similarly, if you've encountered stumbling blocks or doubts, opening up about them can forge a genuine connection. We're all learning, and there's a profound sense of unity in navigating these teachings together. Looking back on all that we've covered, it's clear how these Buddhist principles dovetail with psychological insights. Acknowledging impermanence can release us from obsessive worry. Understanding the fluid nature of self fosters a growth mindset. Mindfulness stabilizes our emotional responses. Silence nurtures deeper self-awareness. Detachment frees us from suffocating expectations. Compassion fosters kindness toward ourselves and others, and right intention provides ethical clarity. Integrating them into everyday life is not about adding more to your to-do list, but shifting your perspective so that each moment can be an opportunity for conscious living. In today's world, where stress and distraction seem ever present, these teachings serve as a gentle but potent reminder. The keys to peace and clarity often lie in the simplest places. Our breath, our sense of presence, our ability to release what no longer serves us, and our capacity for kindness. We don't need a perfect setting or a lifetime of training to begin. Each day is a fresh chance to test these principles and see what resonates. Sometimes the most ordinary moments, like washing dishes or walking the dog, offer the best practice grounds for mindfulness and compassion. As we bring this exploration to a close, allow yourself a brief pause. Take one slow, steady breath in, and notice how it feels as it nourishes your body. Then exhale, visualizing any tension, worry, or resistance flowing out with that breath. Even this small act is a microcosm of the teachings we've discussed. You have the power to anchor yourself in presence. Observe your state of mind and choose a response that serves your well-being. In that single breath, there's a world of discovery. Thank you for allowing these insights to be part of your journey. If something here has lit a spark or clarified something in your heart, consider sharing your thoughts below. Let us know what stands out or how you plan to integrate these ideas into your life. In doing so, you may inspire someone else who's also seeking a more peaceful path. Together, we can continue learning, encouraging one another, and building a space where self-growth and spiritual exploration thrive. May these principles guide you toward greater calm, deeper clarity, and a growing sense of compassion for yourself, for others, and for the world we share.